Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another broadcast. We'll be starting here momentarily. We're just giving people time to get on. You're watching a live broadcast. Now, if you catch us on doing a recorded after the broadcast, just know all this music I'm playing, I'm just waiting for people to get on, okay? All right, so we're just going to give people a few moments. Give it about a minute and a half, and then we're going to jump right in and get started, okay? This broadcast has been brought to you by Samba Tree. Make sure you check out our website, Samba Tree. That's right, sambatree.com, where we are addressing the issues from a health and wellness perspective. Check it out again. The website is sambatree.com. All right, about another minute, and then we're going to jump in, y'all. Hope you guys had a great day. I hope you had a great week. So far, at least, we're halfway through this first full week of January 2025. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate it, and good to see everybody as you're coming in and into the chat and all of that. Really appreciate you. Appreciate you, Wanea, and everyone else that's coming in. Really appreciate it. And tonight we're going to hit it. We got a lot of news to cover. Man, out here in the great state of Arizona. It's been nice. It's been windy, but it's been nice, and as long as I see blue skies, I'm good with that. This is the first day I actually put out, I set up the hummingbird feeder, because we have an abundance of hummingbirds. I've always wanted to see hummingbirds, and now, man, they all over the place. When I'm out in the backyard working, they just, all of a sudden, they start coming over my head, and you hear that buzzing. My first inclination is to swat, but then I had to catch myself. Because I'm sorry, the bees and the flies have given me PTSD when it comes to that buzzing sound. And so so I have to adjust my hand. So I took care of the hummingbirds, but then I had the regular birds coming in looking around like, okay, where's our stuff? And so I got some birdseed last night, put it out, but it was windy. So I don't know if they got it. I don't know if the wind blew it away. Who knows? But anyway, that's what it was today on that. And, got some work done, and still getting that, doing things I normally, do, and all of that. And I'm really feeling y'all, for our younger people out there who are out there looking for jobs. It's a tough market out there. My daughter, just watching her and her diligence and putting out literally hundreds of resumes and barely getting anything. So, she's getting interviews here and there, and, but, we'll see. So I'm glad of, at least as her father, and also for my son too, is that I'm in a position where I can encourage him and say, hey, listen, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. You're going to get it. You're going to hit it. And then not only am I encouraging them like that, what I've done is I'm trying to show them with my own actions, hey, listen, you got to, you don't just sit around and wait for someone to ring your bell, but put your hands to work. So I'm doing something that like I'm, this hasn't been my wheelhouse. I've had some interest in it, but I never really did anything. It was woodworking. It was refurbishing or refinishing, or whatever you want to call it, furniture. Y'all seen some of the videos. I'm showing you little glimpses of it or whatever. and then turning it back around and selling it. There's people that have quit their jobs doing stuff like that. And so I'm like, okay, let me reach in my old bag. and you know, because I also, my background is electronics and IT and stuff like that, but particularly like putting together like circuits and stuff like that. That was my background before everything switched over to software, you know. So I'm sitting here constantly thinking of things and like, okay, let me start building some things. Let me start doing some things. Let me start using my brain and my hands and start doing some of this stuff and see what comes up of it. But I'm not going to sit around and just wait, you know, for somebody to knock on my door. So I want to instill that in them, you know, so that they know, hey, listen, you know, we can do something. Yeah, we can use the skill sets that we have to do something, and we may not even need them. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I've been doing, trying to, walk this thing out so that they can see that they can do this stuff too, you know, as I'm learning in the process. So anyway, so good to see you guys. I got, let's see, Juanel, we got C-Temp in the building, and we got, I'm sure, some other people coming in as well. So, okay, so today we got a lot we're going to be covering today. We're going to be talking about the fire that is taking place now in LA. Yes, the fire. It is happening now, and man, guess what? The meme came true. I'm not laughing, but I am laughing. The meme came true. It came true, ladies and gentlemen. LA Mayor Karen Bass. Well, this meme has been prophetic, because the meme was telling us that there was going to be some black women, black girl magic, sipping their coffee while they were watching a major city in flames. Well, I don't know about sipping on coffee, but we do have one person at least that's sitting from afar off watching her city burn. Yes, this is what happened. And I have some video to show you. She was actually all the way in Ghana, you know, for some ceremony that they were doing over there, trying to get more black Americans to move over there. You know, that's where she was while her city was in flames. And I want to play a clip for you of of someone that was trying to talk to her, to try to get some information out of her, you know, or what's up. Now, before you get started, for some of y'all jump in and say, oh, you beating up on black women. It's not. No. This is the same pressure that will go on any politician. I don't care if she was black, white, orange, purple, green. It doesn't matter. This is the same amount of pressure that will go on any politician. What I oftentimes attack is this whole nonsense that somehow color has to go before character. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm all about character. I'm not about, maybe our previous generation, maybe they were all giddy and excited to see, you know, the first black so-and-so and the first black so-and-so. I'm not. I don't care about that stuff, because I've seen what happens over and over again with that. It has nothing to do with color, but it has everything to do with character. And that's what I'm about, character. If your character ain't right, then you don't need to be in that position. Now, let's take a look at someone. They tried to talk to her. I guess she was in the airport. I don't know where she was. But here's the interview. They were trying to set up an interview with her. They're trying to talk to her, and they're trying to get some answers out of her. Oh, what's that playing? Hold on. Let me turn that off. Yeah, let me see what that was. They were trying to get some answers out of her. Let's take a listen to see what she had to say, you know, to the people. All right? Let's take a listen.
Do you owe citizens an apology for being absent while their homes were burning? Do you regret cutting the fire department budget by millions of dollars, Madam Mayor? Have you nothing to say today?
Can you back up? Appreciate it.
Have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today? Elon Musk says that you're utterly incompetent. Are you considering your position? Madam Mayor, have you absolutely nothing to say to the citizens today who are dealing with this disaster? No apology for them? Do you think you should have been visiting Ghana while this was unfolding back home?
What's going on? Hey, where we
Madam Mayor,
going?
let me ask you just again, have you anything to say to the citizens today as you return?
Oh, she got a special door.
Hold on 1 second.
Or maybe not. Oh,
Madam
yeah,
Mayor,
yeah.
just a few words for the citizens today as you return to deal with the catastrophe.
She got a special door.
David, as you say, she wasn't very keen to answer any of your questions there. And fire chiefs are also admitting that they just don't have enough personnel to take out the fires.
Yeah, they're fighting all sorts of challenges. They're talking about a water shortage. There are reports of fire hydrant failures. They've been unable to use firefighting aircraft for much of the day due to the smoke that is billowing ominously from the hills where the wildfires are raging. And I suppose despite that political storm, this is, of course, at its heart, a human story, because we've now 80,000 people evacuated. Tens of thousands of others are on standby to be evacuated. 2 lives have been lost in the Eaton fire, which is what's causing the consequence behind us. The city's iconic landscape almost shrouded completely by the smoke. And they're really just taking it one step at a time, hoping at some stage the wind's going to change direction or to die down, and that they're going to be able to get this fire under control.
So she had absolutely nothing to say. She's the meme. She's the meme. She literally has made the meme come to pass. She is the meme, y'all. She's the meme. That she was going to be just sitting back and watching the city burn. You put it out there. Okay, so I guess we do got some prophets out there, some prophetic people out there. I guess it does work. Anyway, so there's a few things that need to be said as far as this whole thing is concerned. And the reason why there's a lot of attention that's being placed on her, as you know, as far as fires are concerned. Number one, here you had this. LA Mayor Karen Bass cut fire department funding by $17.6 million months before wildfires turned city into hellscape. Now you're going to see a pattern here that I'm gonna bring out that's really something that makes me believe that perhaps, just perhaps, this is one of those things that they just kind of sort of want to see unfold, you know. And I know that's not, now I'm getting into what you call it, conspiracy theory territory, but at this point the conspiracy theorists have been, we've been hitting it, y'all. We've been hitting we've been hitting it better than Steph Curry. You know how Steph Curry, you can count on him to hit the three every time. Conspiracy theorists, we've been hitting it every time. Well, anyway, here is a post that you know, some of y'all know the actor James Woods. He actually was talked about how he lost his home, but he also talked about how many people in his community, he's in the Malibu area, just months ago, the insurance companies for their houses all of a sudden decided to drop insurance coverage. I don't know if some of you have been following the insurance companies and how they've been moving kind of funny out there in California, you know, because they're wanting more money and all this other stuff. There's a lot of rigmarole that's going on. So you got insurance companies who have been saying, you know what, screw it. We're going to pull out of California. We're going to drop all of these policies. People have been paying tens of thousands of dollars in these policies. And months ago, they decide to pull out. And I just showed you that months ago, LA Mayor Karen Bass cut the fire department funding by 17.6 mil. Listen, y'all, listen, I am done, just kind of breezing through these things and pretending that there isn't some kind of correlation with this or coincidence. I'm done with that because clearly something is up. What exactly is it? I'm gonna leave that up to y'all to figure that out. But here's this is Alex Jones here. He's talking about it. Let me see if I can pull it up a little bit here. Okay, let's see. Alex Jones, he's talking about
exploded in all the key wealthiest areas that happen to border poor areas where the elites want to get the property, just like Lahaina in Maui a few years ago. People started saying, hey, we all got our insurance canceled the last 2 months. Others said, no, it happened 3 months ago, 4 months ago. But James Woods, who lives in the area, his house almost burned down. There's footage of that. In fact, it was almost burning down this morning. Who knows if it's even there now? Came out and said, actually, one of the major insurance companies canceled all the policies in our neighborhood about 4 months ago. And the insurance companies are owned by the private central banks. They're the ones that make the decisions with the policies through the governments, not to trim the trees, not to cut fire breaks. They run the governments. They're the most powerful. They tell them don't release the water. They've been fine tweaking this industrial espionage, sabotage, Dr. Evil type crap.
And so, so that's been going on, little by little by little. There was a black couple. I had the article somewhere, but it was a black couple that they had a home. Oh, I'm trying to remember that. Did I talk about this? Anyway, I don't, if you can look it up, I want to stay focused, but let me I remember the story now. Check this out. This was out in California. I'm just telling you just how shady these insurance companies have been. Okay. This was a black couple that owned a house, right? They owned this house, and they, like a lot of people, they put solar panels on top of their house, right? And the insurance companies, well, they use Google Maps, right? You know how you use a satellite view and you can look down at people's, communities or whatever, right? So they looked on, the insurance company said, okay, let's put in their address. They put in the address of this black couple that owned this house, and they saw the solar panels. But here's the thing. Whatever system they're using, I don't know if it's AI or a lie. This sounds like they were probably using a lie. The insurance company sends them a letter and says, we're going to cancel your insurance policy. And they were like, well, why? What did we do? And they said, we're canceling it because we observed that on your roof, we see that you got mold. And they was like, what are you talking about? We got mold. And so, yeah, we here's a screenshot. We got it off of whatever, Google image, whatever. And not Google image, Google map. And we see that you got mold on your roof. So no, that cancels everything out. So no, you don't have insurance anymore. So at this point, the guy's pissed. He's like, no, dummies. That's not mold. That's solar panels. In fact, states like California, they're actually paying people to, you get tax breaks for getting solar panels. New Jersey, Arizona, all over the country they were doing this, right? And so they canceled them. And so they try to they're going back and forth. But these companies these days, they cut it out, they cut you out, and you don't even have any kind of recourse to talk to anybody. They said, nope, our decision is final. That's it. You don't have insurance with us. So long story short, they ended up finding someone else to cover them. But of course, now they got to pay more money for insurance coverage for their house. And then the other thing I remember from that story too, there were other houses in that picture that also had solar panels. So this is what they've been doing. This has been like bubbling up for some time now. It's like slowly but surely insurance companies are starting to pull back, and they're saying, nah, we ain't trying to do that. We ain't trying to cover that. Another thing, as far as Karen Bass is concerned, she's been very big on, I'm going to make sure now, now that I'm I told you, I've said this and I hate saying this, but it's true. I said that if you want to know who the Trojan horse is for the LGBTQ movement, look no further than black women, political black women. Political black women have been pushing LGBTQ, that whole movement, for a very long time, And it's sad, but it's very true. And so she felt like she had to be the one when she got in office. Oh, we're going to make sure we're going to DEI up this fire department. We're going to DEI up the government and everything. She got, she waving flags of the LGBTQ people and all this other stuff. And now her city's in flames, and now she gone. She in Africa somewhere. So yeah, that she does need to be called into account, for that nonsense on what's going on there. Speaking of insurance companies, I have a video here, and I'm gonna get back on track. But when I was mentioning insurance companies, it reminded me of this story too. Let me get this up. Now check this out. This is a surgeon, a board certified surgeon. She's in the middle of an operation. And look at what the insurance companies did. Let me go back. Let me rewind this here. Let me bring it on the screen. And I want you to take a listen for yourself on just how demonic these insurance companies are. Now, we were talking about house insurance. Now we're talking about health insurance here. Take a listen.
It's 2025 and insurance just keeps getting worse. I just did 2 bilateral deeps and 2 bilateral tissue expanders for patients. And I've never had this happen before, but during the second deep, I got a phone call into the operating room saying that United Healthcare wanted me to call them about one of the patients who was having surgery today, who was actually asleep having surgery. And, said I had to call right now. So I scrubbed out of my case and I called United Healthcare, and the gentleman said he needed some information about her, wanted to know her diagnosis and whether her inpatient stay should be justified. And I was like, do you understand that she's asleep right now? And she has breast cancer. And the gentleman said, actually, I don't. That's a different department that would know that information. And I was like, well, she does need to stay overnight tonight. And you have all the information with you because I got approval for this surgery. And I need to go back and be with my patient now. But yeah, it's out of control. Insurance is out of control. I have no other words.
So they're trying to nickel and dime people while they're still in surgery, the insurance companies. See, listen, when I tell y'all again that we have to start thinking outside the box when it comes to healthcare. The very fact that in 2025, we still believe that this government or this system somehow has care inside of it to care for your health. Think about it. We call it health care. And then oftentimes you hear people say health care for all. Well, I certainly believe that. I believe that all people should have health care. But I also believe that health care begins with you. It doesn't begin out there. Do you understand what I'm saying? It doesn't begin with them because the people out there, it's about business, right? And that they feel that you ain't worth it, then guess what's going to happen? Well, they're going to cut their losses. And guess who's the loss? You are. I found this other article too while I'm on this, and I'm going to look more into this. Canadian doctors euthanizing useless citizens to harvest organs for the deserving. I'm going to look more into that one. But they've been doing this kind of stuff. I wish I can go more into this, but I'll do that on Odyssey. By the way, if you haven't checked out our Odyssey channel, make sure if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do that. Make sure you do that, because as these days are rolling along, more and more of the topics are going to be health related, and I'm not able to get into those details here on this platform. If you missed the broadcast that we did the other day, we talked about how, what was this, in the 90s, 80s, 90s, during the AIDS crisis? We talked about how in Harlem, New York, they were doing experimentation on black children in Harlem, New York, in children that they said had AIDS. And what was some of the things they were doing to the children? They were cutting open their stomach and force feeding them all these different drugs and stuff because the children were too sick to take it in their mouths. This took place in New York City, in Harlem, New York. This wasn't in some black site somewhere in Ukraine somewhere. This took place here in New York, in Harlem. And I played, it was like a 25-minute clip. If you haven't watched it, you need to go and you need to watch it. The thing, and they were throwing receipts on the screen. So if anybody came back and said, oh, no, that ain't true, they had the receipts on the screen. And even with that, the BBC came back and said, they did a whole article. They said, well, we apologize. We didn't mean to put that out there and all that stuff, right? But if you understand how the media works, much of the financing or the ad money that goes to CNN, Fox, name it, comes from pharmaceutical companies. So yeah, they had some incentive to pull that thing off, but it was, for whatever reason, I found it. And like I said, it's over on Odyssey. So we talked about that. And again, I use that as an example of these are the same people that many of our people are still trusting to care about their health. I'm not talking, a lot of people want to talk about Tuskegee. We could talk about Tuskegee forever. I'm talking about something that took place in the 80s and the 90s, children. And then on top of that, in the documentary, they talked about the children who didn't make it through these experimentations in Harlem, New York. Guess what they did? They dug a large grave in New York State somewhere and threw their bodies in there. It's there today. But this was all done under the umbrella of the very government that you're demanding to care about your health. All I can do is tell you. Now, the rest is up to you. But some of us, we get so caught up in, but I worked hard for this health care and I'm got, they gonna give me something. But we got black doctors out there. Listen, what I'm telling you is, I'm not telling you to take your health care and throw it in the garbage or whatever. I'm not telling you to ever darken the door of a doctor's office again. I'm not telling you that at all. What I am saying is you need to have a much better perspective, and you need to start using some wisdom. Stop believing that everything these doctors are telling you is just 100% truth and you just have to run with it. No, you have the right to ask questions. You have the right to investigate. And I don't care if it's a natural doctor, same thing, homeopathic or whatever. It doesn't matter. You still are your primary physician. You are. And you have every right to question, to investigate, and to make decisions that are best for you. And that's what they were talking about in that documentary. And, they were doing the best they could to make their decisions. But because the home was broken up, some things they just had to go with it. They even talked about the foster care system. And I've talked about that as well. In the foster care system and how, and this is all within 25 minutes, the foster care system, how you have participants in it that are in it clearly for the money. Some of you know about those kind of stories. And, they're just in for the money. But as long as they're compliant, they got to be compliant with what the government tells them to do. You understand? And so if the government tells them, okay, this child that you are foster caring, you got to make sure they take all these psychotropic drugs. As long as you're doing that, the check will be in the mail. And family, let me tell you, and let me keep it 100%, there are many black people that participate in this. See, we could talk about the big government and put a white face on it, but I'm telling you, there are a lot of compliant black folks that use the foster care system as a money-making generating thing. Look, I had one parent in particular that was telling us, man, look, I'm about to get some more. You better get into this thing, bruh. Like it was some kind of side hustle, like it was like Uber or something, like a Uber for black children. I'm trying to see, you want truth? I mean, I can't talk around stuff. Because, see, many of y'all are this stuff goes on. But we much rather do a video on we need to do a video on P. Diddy, or we need to do a video on someone else. But I'm talking about black children that are being used as guinea pigs every day in America, USA, under the system that is saying that, hey, we're going to give you health care because we care so much about your health. I'm going to play this video. Here's another video that I came across, since we're talking about health here, but I can talk about it in general, broad terms here. But I'll just say this. There are a lot of these stories and I know that have been going around, and I'm just going to leave it at that, okay? I can't say anything else, but I'm just going to leave it at that. This is from the YouTube channel Street Media TV. I think this is the dude that goes, I don't know if this is the same guy, but I think he does like street interviews or something like that. I've seen him around, or at least I heard his voice. I want you, based on everything we know that we are not able to talk about, all I'm going to say is I'm going to let the video speak for itself, and we just going to keep it rolling for this evening, okay? So I want you to take a listen to what he said recently happened to him. And I'm just going to leave it at that, okay?
Peace, family. I want to talk to the people for a minute. Those, especially my hardcore followers, those that's been following me, following Urban Nerds, and following us for years. Yeah, I seen a couple comments. People were saying, George, what's wrong with your voice? You talking funny and all this. Well, a week and a half ago, I got sick. My motor skills was off. My tongue got numb. I didn't have any taste. I didn't know what was wrong with me, right? I was getting real bad headaches, and I was moving real slow. And everybody thought I was having a stroke. So, I was rushed to the hospital. They checked my sugar, they checked my blood pressure, my cholesterol levels and everything. And everything came up right. I work out every day. I train. You guys see me. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I didn't know what was going on with me, right? But I know that my motor skills was off and the whole left side of my face is paralyzed, right? And I'm like, what's going on with me? So they end up coming back and saying, well, you're not having a stroke, but you have Bell's palsy. And I'm like, what the hell is Bell's palsy? First, I thought it was like maybe cerebral palsy or something. I didn't know what the hell was going on. So, they said it usually takes it could take anywhere from 2 weeks to 6 months to a year for it to go away. So they got me on meds and stuff like that. But I'm also, taking my herbs, making sure I'm cleaning up my body. I do my videos about, especially in the summertime when I run my miles, I talk about cleansing the mind, cleansing the body, keeping your colon clean. And I do all these different things, but this still happened, right? So it's affected my speech because when I talk, I'm talking slurred. My mouth is crooked. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just glad that it wasn't a stroke. But, if you guys see me making videos and, I'm not showing my face, but you can hear my words are slurred, it's because I'm dealing with Bell's palsy right now. And I'm working through it.
I can't say anything else because YouTube masses don't want me to say anything. But I think for those of you, you know. And it's just, I don't know what it's going to take for some people. And I'm just going to leave it at that. My hope is, this brother pulls out and, and gets well and all of that for sure, but I don't know what it's going to take. Oh, it ain't something in the air. It definitely ain't in the air. I'll just leave it at that. Okay. So anyway, let's move on. Let's see what else we had here this evening. So the next thing, so we talked about LA and what's going on. Now let's get back to that a little bit. Let's get back to LA, but not really back to LA. Now, it's been very interesting to sit back and to watch all the massive amount of news coverage when it comes to what's going on in LA. You know, you're seeing people's houses burn and all that kind of stuff. So let me just put it this way. It's funny to sit back and watch as white media talks about it, black folks will talk about it. When white media don't talk about it, we don't talk about it. What am I talking about? Because there was something else that took place back at the end of August, the beginning of September of last year, where you had a massive chemical fire that took place in Conyers, Georgia, where many people got sick, and they're still trying to figure out what the heck has happened. And by early estimates, this is a major chemical outbreak or whatever it is that took place. They're still trying to figure out, okay, is it in the water, is it in the food and all this stuff? This thing has a potential of messing up people for years. They were telling people, some people were like saying, I got to get out of here because things I was dealing with as far as my health in the past, now all of a sudden it's all flaring up again. I got to move. I got to get out of here. These are black folks. That's how bad it was. And other people too, but I'm just highlighting something here. And it's still trying to figure out what's going on and the magnitude of it. And so, you know, on this platform, we're one of quite a few platforms that did talk about it. We have a playlist. If you look on our front of our YouTube page, we actually have a Conyers playlist where we actually stayed on this story and we're still kind of monitoring it. On sombertree.com, we actually came up with a T. We came up with a T. We did our little research and we wanted to put together a T that would focus and target on clearing out the lungs, right? Because there's a lot of different herbs that specialize in that. We looked and said, okay, we don't see anybody else addressing it from that angle. We do it. We'll do it. And that's exactly what we did. And we gave it away to the people. And so but I didn't hear, I can count probably on a half a hand on black platforms right here on YouTube that even bothered talking about that story. Why? Because white media wasn't talking about it. Not really. This is in Atlanta. What, the city got to be bigger than Atlanta? They weren't even talking about it. But now LA's on fire, Malibu's on fire, Mr. Charlie's house on fire. Now all of a sudden, you go on YouTube. Now all of a sudden, the Lord done told me, I done seen a vision that God he's bringing judgment to that time. Now all of a sudden it's on your radar. You got the prophets and the prophetesses out. You got all kind of people out here. Oh, what about so-and-so's house? And what about this house? Now all of a sudden it's on our radar. Folks, if we don't start taking the initiative and start actually caring about our own and our own folks and our elders and stuff like that, the government ain't gonna do it. They don't care. We talked about even the EPA and what's going on down there in Conyers, and the EPA, they dragging their feet and all this other stuff. They doing the same thing they were doing in East Palestine. We talked about that. We did videos on that on East Palestine, dragging their feet. They don't care about the regular people out here in the United States, be it black, white, or whatever. They don't care. But Malibu, oh my God, they're burning the houses in Malibu. Oh my goodness, did you hear? You know, all of this. And, you know, I don't want to see nobody lose their homes and all that. But, you know, at the same time, you know, I don't know anybody in Malibu. You know what I'm saying? But I know people down in the Conyers and Atlanta area. I know people who have been impacted by the thing that we can't talk about. I know those people. But all of a sudden, Mr. Charlie's house on Mr. Charlie's house on fire. We right there on the scene. We got something to say. Like I say, even the religious people now, they got something to say. But Mr. Charlie don't talk about it. most, unfortunately, a lot of our people won't. And that's sad. It really is. But let's move on. So we got, because like I said, we got some other things we want to talk about. I posted something today on our community page about this whole thing. Have you guys been hearing about Trump talking about how he wants to buy Antarctica? I was in the line at a store somewhere, and I'm checking my phone, and I'm literally seeing one tweet come up. Trump's talking about how he wants to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. And then he's talking about he wants to buy Antarctica. He sent his son up there and everything, and then the next tweet, it was about Canada, some politicians in Canada saying, oh yeah, well, we want California. We want this. It's like they just playing around with the geography here, and I laughed out loud. I was like, what the heck is going on? Like, I'm not even half stressed. It's like, now I'm just sitting up here laughing, because this is it's crazy to a point. And so I'm hearing Trump saying this stuff. And I said, when I first was hearing about it, I said, Trump ain't stupid. As much as people want to try to paint him and try to make him seem like, oh, he's just being irrational, he's just all over the place and all of this other stuff, he ain't stupid. He's getting that from somewhere. And lo and behold, it didn't take long, but we was able to find out exactly who he's getting it from. And look no further than the tech master in chief, Elon Musk. They said by the year 2027, they are estimating that he will be the first trillionaire. And so Elon Musk has been hanging around him and just all up in, and I kept saying to myself, I'm like, what is going on? And what was also puzzling to me was I would hear Trump talking about, now this is when he was on the campaign trail, he was talking about how he said, we're going to get rid of these electric cars and all something to that effect. And I was like, okay, but why, Elon Musk, you don't hear this? What's going on? And I still don't get that. And so, but Elon Musk still been around him, and even now still been around him. And so I came across this article, and we're not going to read the whole thing because it's quite lengthy, but it gave a little history. Now, this article comes to us by way of the Canadian government, the CBC, Canadian Broadcasting Company. And it gave us a little history as to what exactly we are seeing and why we're seeing what we're seeing when it comes to the United States wanting to rename the Gulf of Mexico into the Gulf of America. And then he wants to reclaim the Panama Canal and wants to bring in Canada as a 51st state. And it also wants to buy or, absorb Antarctica. He wants to do all of these things. And so I was, but he's not crazy. He's getting it from somewhere. So what we found was this. This is an article. Let me pull this up here. Again, this is Canadian, the CBC, not Congressional Black Caucus. Okay. This ain't them for sure, what you see on the screen. This is from the Canadian Broadcasting Company, the CBC. This is an article that they posted back in 2021. And the title of it is In Science We Trust. Back in the first half of the 20th century, a group of technocracy called Technocracy Incorporated wanted to reorganize society by putting scientists in charge. The movement flamed out, but its underlining message still appeals to many in Silicon Valley. And so anyway, let's get into this. On October the 13th, 1940, a Regina chiropractor named Joshua Haldeman appeared in city court to face 2 charges under the Defense of Canada Act. His alleged offense was belonging to Technocracy Incorporated, an organization that had been banned by the Canadian government several months earlier as part of a larger sweep of groups it considered subversive to the war effort. Technocracy Incorporated was not a political movement. In fact, politicians or members of political parties were not allowed to join. It was founded in New York City in 1933 as an educational and research organization promoting a radical restructuring of political and social and economic life in Canada and the United States, with science as its central operating principle. All right, let's go on. There would be no politicians, business people, money, or income inequality. Sorry. Those were all features of what technocracy called the quote price system, and it would have to go. There would be no countries called Canada or the United States either. Just one giant continental landmass called the technate, a techno-utopia run by engineers and other experts in their field. In the technate, everyone would be well housed and fed. All materials needs would be taken care of, whether you had a job or not. Joshua Haldeman was a leader of Technocracy Incorporated in Canada from 1936 to 1941, but eventually became disillusioned with both the organization and the country and packed up his young family to start life anew in South Africa. In June 1971, Haldeman's daughter, Maeve, gave birth to his first grandson. His name is Elon Musk. Isn't that something? Musk's estimate net worth today is more than 150 billion US. He clearly has done very well inside the price system his grandfather would have railed against. But Musk has not completely abandoned his technocracy roots. Musk doesn't talk about a technate on Earth, but has invested billions developing rockets to send people to Mars with the intent to colonize it. He wants to see a city of 1 million people there by 2050. In 2019, Musk tweeted, accelerating Starship development to build the Martian technocracy. So this technocracy thing is still in his blood because, again, this was his grandfather. And I'm not, like I said, again, I'm going to skip around here a little bit here. Let's see. You're just seeing some pictures here. Let me just start reading this a little bit here. Technocracy's ideology defies easy characterization. It was an anti-capitalist and anti-democratic, but not fascist. It was anti-government, but not libertarian. It believed in a radical form of social and economic equality, but it was not Marxist. It rejected all those ideologies because none of them accepted the idea that science and technology were transforming North American life, and that only highly trained engineers and experts were capable of building a new North America. Now, if you listen to what Elon Musk and a lot of stuff he's been putting out here, he's definitely on track with that. You know, like, for example, you know, he's doing this Doge, you know, Department of, I don't know, government waste or whatever it's called, where basically he's trying to position himself to start cleaning out the government, all the bureaucracy and the fat and all that stuff. Now, on one hand, that sounds great to cut all of that out. It does. But it's leading to something else that may look good at first, but ultimately it's going to become a technocracy nightmare. And I'll explain just in a little bit here. But let me see if I can, was there anything else? Let's see. Here we go. Before the Industrial Revolution, most manufacturing was done by hand, and there were never enough goods to go around. It was an economy based on scarcity. Now, machines could produce more than enough of everything for everybody with significantly less human labor. But this industrial system capable of producing abundance was being stymied by the price system, a pre-industrial scarcity-based construct ill-suited to a world where machines were replacing humans in the workplace. At the heart of this price system was money. It was what forced people to go into debt, break the law, become greedy, and engage in all kinds of other bad behaviors. But help was on the way. The march of technology with its increasing abundance will destroy every value of the price system, Scott declared in his speech in Sylvan Lake, Alta during a Western Canadian speaking tour in September 1939. It's a clash between obsolescence and modernity, between technology and value, between science and chaos. If all this sounds familiar, it's because doomsday scenarios about massive unemployment and social unrest caused by technological change have been around since at least the Industrial Revolution. Let me see. Okay, let me skip to this. At the World Government Summit in Dubai in 2017, Elon Musk, who constantly wages war with agencies trying to regulate his cars and rockets, and whose plan for fully autonomous vehicles could cost millions of jobs, expressed his support for a guaranteed basic income. And this is what he said: mass unemployment will be a massive social challenge, Musk warned, echoing words that his grandfather likely uttered many times. Musk concluded, there will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better. With automation will come abundance. Okay. Let's see here. So the article goes on. Okay. And then this is the map that this is how they saw the technate. Doesn't that sound familiar? You thought Trump was out off his rocker, right? Trump was off his rocker. He just talking mess. All right. He just talking look, this is Elon Musk's grandfather was part of this. Don't this look very familiar? This is what Trump is saying that he wants to see happen. Is making all of this part of North America. And this goes right along with the World Economic Forum. And there's another body too that came up with this too, that they see, dividing the world into like zones. This ideology, this mindset, these plans have been in place for a very long time. This is not anything new at all. This is nothing about this is new. But now, hopefully, you are seeing, the Committee of 300. It was the Committee of 300. They also were talking about this stuff. So now you're beginning to see where this thing is heading. Where now we're looking at a possibility of this unfolding. Now, will it happen overnight? Don't know. Will it even happen? Don't know that either. But we do know that this is the direction that they're going in. Now, think about that for a moment. If you just allow yourself to kind of think about this and how would this look? How much this would change the landscape on many levels, on many levels, economically, socially, politically, just on many levels, if this were to happen. Now they're getting some pushback from, the EU is saying, how dare you? You're not going to do. But the EU got enough on their plate right now. I mean, France getting their butt kicked all over Africa. They about the government was about to go belly up in just France alone. They're dealing with this war in Ukraine, this nonsense over there. The EU's got enough on their plate. Not to mention that the United States is literally the bulldog of the world, of these world leaders. And so who rules at the end of the day are the people who have the guns. You understand what I'm saying? The people who got the guns at the end of the day, those are the ones. So, it's going to be quite interesting in the days, weeks, and months ahead, especially when Trump gets in office. I think we're going to start seeing some radically, because they're already telling people, get ready. They say from day one, he's already got things lined up. And so, like I was saying in the beginning of this broadcast, I really do feel for our younger people who are out here, who are training right now to get into the working field and whatever they, especially if it's a technology based field. You have to start thinking ahead of the curve, when it comes to technology, because you already got AI software right now that's writing millions and millions of lines of code just like that. You don't need somebody to sit down and do that anymore. All you got to do is say, hey, listen, debug this for me, and AI within seconds will debug it for you. You also have AI now that's, it's just taken over a lot of jobs that were traditionally handled by people. This is just what it is for us. And I would imagine for some of you, depending on, maybe down in Austin, Texas, I would imagine, certainly in New York or, LA for sure. I know here in the Phoenix area, we have cars that drive by themselves. Like it's kind of normal now to see. When I first saw it, I was like, that's crazy. But yeah, now you got cars. I could be at the light and the car pulls up and nobody's in the front seat. Like nobody. Like that's normal out here where we live. I'm being serious. And they're expanding it, where these cars more and more. So what is that going to do for Uber drivers? They're already talking about using this technology, let's say, to do deliveries. Amazon, all these Amazon drivers, that are out here talking about they protesting and we demand, we're going to join a union and all that. Okay, go ahead and do all that if you want to. But they already got the Jeff Bezos and all them. They already got lined up automated cars, automated vehicles that'll just do it, and they ain't got to do nothing. And they're already, what they're doing now is, because I've listened to some of these people who do these deliveries for Amazon, and they're talking about how the amount of stress it is to get through their shift and delivering hundreds of boxes. It's like they're overloading these people intentionally. And they were talking about, I've heard stories where these drivers said they literally have to pee in a bottle. Like this one guy said, his responsibility was to clean out the trucks or whatever. He said it's not common. It's not uncommon to find bottles of pee in these Amazon trucks, because if you take a break, it's going to mess your whole thing up. You know what I mean? You got you're looking at hundreds of boxes, deliveries you got to make. And it's like they're just overloading these people intentionally to get people so fed up where they're like, listen, we can't even do this anymore. And so finally they'll say, you know what? You're right. So we got a solution. And they already got a solution for it. Well, you said you couldn't do it anymore. So we got these robots already lined up, ready to do it. So for those of you who are looking, younger people, if you're looking at getting into the technology field, think ahead of the curve, because those kind of technologies, even they need someone that's going to repair them. Robots need repair. So you can always look into repair, getting into repair work, when it comes to fixing things. Or if you want to get into that, that would be a very lucrative opportunity if you're thinking ahead, if you're able to get into something like that, along with other things. But the traditional trajectory for a lot of this stuff now, I'm telling you right now, you can't think that way. Many of us at a certain age, those of us around a certain age, it was not uncommon to come across, people who were who worked for the phone company for 30, 40, 50 years. You know what I mean? And, and they retired very well. Well, that's not even the case anymore. You lucky to be with a company for a few months before they kick you out of there. So we have to think ahead when it comes to this kind of stuff, because the technology is not only coming, it's here. And so, someone mentioned earlier in the chat, I saw at the corner of my eye, these, what they call them, these cities, smart cities. They're already preparing people for what's coming ahead. These smart cities now, where everything's going to be cameraed down, everything's going to be automated and all this other stuff. It looks good at first. It sounds like a good idea, but eventually it's going to not be too good, because people will be viewed as a 1 or 0. That's the part of this equation that's not talked about. People will be viewed as a 1 or 0. Now we will be living in a society where you reach a certain age, they're gonna say, you know what, you're taking too much resources that could go to someone else. So once you reach a certain age, you out of here. Some of y'all old enough, you remember the movie Logan's Run? If you go check that out, that was a movie that came out in the 70s. Once you reach the age of, what was it, like 30 or something like that, you are out of here. They took you somewhere and they sent you on your way and you never came back. You know, and it was a society, but they also played it all the way out in that movie, saying how crazy it was. But this is what it always starts written. It always starts in science fiction, and it ends up into a reality. Always. And so, like, this whole mindset of, taking people out at a certain age because you're pulling too much. You don't think these hospitals haven't been practicing that kind of stuff at some level? This euthanasia stuff. You don't think they haven't been doing that? Prescribe, well, insurance company, like, listen, just cut them off. Cut them off. Because they taking too much of our money. They taking too much of our money. They taking too much of our resources. Just cut them off. They've been doing this. This ain't like, ooh, one day it's going to happen. They've been doing this. Some of y'all got friends and family that you notice it as well. They get cut off by the insurance companies. They've been doing it. Anyway, let's move on. So that article, I have the link for that article on our community page. Make sure you check it out. Make sure you read the whole thing. There's a lot of things in that article, but I just, wanted to kind of condense it there a little bit. But they breaking it down. I mean, they've been talking about this stuff. Look at this. Administration chart for the North American technate. They got it. This stuff been laid out for years. So what Trump is saying, he's not, I'm telling you, he ain't a Looney Tune. He's following the directives. And do not be surprised if this thing actually materializes. I mean, you had the Prime Minister of Canada, he just stepped down. And then all of a sudden, Trump just jumped out of nowhere talking about, yeah, well, we'll take it. Canada, come on board. So anyway, I'm just saying, if that were to happen, it would be a major shift in a lot of stuff. It would be a major shift. And let me just go even further and say this. On this trajectory that we're on, black people, let me just say this. For those of you who are just, I got to get, they're going to give us our reparations. You want to continue down that trajectory. I've always said I'm totally with the argument. So do not come at me and try to make it seem like I'm anti-reparations. No, I'm for the argument for it. I believe in the argument. I think the argument is it does make sense from a historical perspective. Absolutely. But for this kind of stuff that I'm talking about right now, there is not going to be any room for reparations. You're talking a radical changes that could take place. All they have to do is one day say, you know what? There's a new disease coming down the pike or whatever, and the best way we can manage this thing is if we just get rid of all the borders, or some crazy stuff. And then all of a sudden people just comply and go with it. These things are happening. It's unveiling and it's unraveling. Not unraveling. It's becoming a lot clearer now in the direction that these people are going. The question is, are you thinking ahead? You know what I mean? And you need to be. You're not going to have all the answers. I certainly do not. But these are things I constantly think about. What if this were to happen? What about my family? What about this, that, or whatever? I'm not in any fear, but I have to stay informed on these things so that I'm not caught off guard and I'm not, well, I don't know. I don't want to be like that. So I want to make sure I stay informed. That's why we do these broadcasts here, so people can, be thinking along these lines as well. All right, so let's move on to the next thing here. And here's another change that's happening in the technoverse. Mark Zuckerberg Well, he announced that, well, you know what? At the end of the day, we were wrong about the whole, shutting down freedom of speech on social media, especially during the era, a few years ago. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of our fact checkers. And some of y'all who have been on Facebook, you've seen many a post have gotten buried and people have gotten shut down and their accounts canceled because they were questioning the narrative. Well, Mark Zuckerberg is saying, hey, listen, we're done with that. We with y'all. We're Team Freedom. Really. Anyway, let's take a listen to what he just recently announced, and then we'll chat about it after he's finished. It's a short clip.
Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US.
Let me stop here for a second, because what I read about this, the people who on these fact checker teams, they were like, well, this is the first time they got fired right in the video. They didn't get a chance to check that fact. Anyway, listen, let me continue to go. So he says replacing fact checkers with community notes.
After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
All right, well, now you're going to be able to post whatever you want on Facebook. I guess that's what he's saying, but, we'll see, on that. But the other thing they are doing is that they're adding a lot more AI to it, in the background and, all of that. I talked about the other day, he's releasing all these AI bots out there that are going to be specializing in different areas. Like you could be listening, you could be chatting with someone on Facebook on that platform, and you're not going to really know if you're chatting with someone that is real or an AI bot, So, and he talked about, he had a whole big press conference. He was talking about this, and then as far as you being able to get on there now and question things like the mandates and things like that, they're going to kind of back off on that or whatever. Again, I'm never too comfortable when it comes to technology. I'll just say that. That's probably what I'm trying to say. I'm never too comfortable with technology. A lot of people look at these things, your phones, as kind of like your buddy, your best friend. You be butt naked in your house and you got the phone set up like this. You know what I mean? And you like checking your voicemail. And you got your camera, and you just think that, nobody's here except my phone. Not realizing you got not 1, 2, but 3 lenses. Some of these phones, they even got 4 lenses. It's getting every curve, every little part of your body. And you may say, well, I went into the settings and I turned that off, whatever. You really think they're going to allow you to turn stuff off? They literally, Apple just put out like millions of dollars in a lawsuit because they said they wasn't listening to anything, but it actually was. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or you'll be having conversations about certain things and, that are quite personal, and you got your phone right there in the middle. My wife, sometimes she catches me doing that. She'll take the phone and fling it on the other side of the room. And sometimes she'll throw a blanket over it or something, And I say, yeah, you're right, So you can't treat, a lot of people, they treat these things like it's their buddy. Like it's their friend, their little secret friend, their little girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. Oh, they ain't gonna say nothing. They ain't reporting nothing. Man, please, they recording everything. Like sometimes I'll be in the car talking to myself, depending on what I'm talking about. I'll take that phone, man, I put it in that little car pocket area and be banging, just whatever, so that they can't really hear what I'm saying. For real. I mean, we've gotten way too comfortable with technology. Way too comfortable. Some of y'all be sending these pictures and stuff, and I'm just sending it to my boyfriend or my girlfriend or whatever. Ain't nobody else gonna see it, or I'm just gonna text this series of messages, what you got on and all this stuff, and look at these drawers, do they look good on me or whatever? You know, I just went to Victoria's Secret and all that. Be passing all that stuff on and texting it and sending it. Sometimes you go on Twitter or you'll be DMing on Facebook. Man, if they were ever to break into your account, all your whole butt be out. And you be wondering, how did this get out here? So moral of the story is this: don't get comfortable. Always, when it comes to technology, always keep your head on a whole swivel. You understand what I'm saying? You know, there are certain conversations that do not need to be online, period. You know, we use Odyssey to talk about certain things, but I'm gonna tell you right now, anything beyond that, I'm not online at all. I'm not on Threema. I ain't on that. We gonna be face to face. You hear what I'm saying? That's how you have to think. And it's funny because you watch these movies, some of these spy movies, a lot of times they say, what? Before you come in this room, and they got that metal box, and they'll tell you, okay, put your phone up in it. What are you talking about? Put it in there. Put it in there. Before you come up in here, put your phone, put your watch, all that stuff. You shouldn't be wearing them stupid watches anyway, them Apple watches. Do you know how much radiation is being put out to your body when you're wearing those Apple watch, and not just Apple watches, the Android ones and all that too? Get you an analog one. Okay, you don't need any more of that stuff on you. In the future, I don't know how soon, we're going to be talking about LED lights. I've touched on that before. You remember we were doing a series of videos. We were talking about the importance of sunlight and why you need to be fully exposed to sunlight as often as you need, as often as possible. And we talked about all the health benefits of it. We did quite a few videos on that. But I want to start turning your attention over to LED lights. I'm in Walmart. You know, I don't know. It just, some things just pop. It's like, you know what? I got to start focusing more on this. You know, sometimes my wife been on it, you know, and it just takes me a minute. But LED lights, you know, it is so difficult to find incandescent lights these days. You ever go into Walmart and just look for I just want a regular light bulb. All of them got LED on it. All of them. All of them. Well, let me go to this other store. They got all LED lights. I can't find one. You know where I found a light bulb, a regular incandescent light bulb? In Goodwill. Go to Goodwill. If you look at, there's a higher chance probability that you'll find some incandescent light bulbs in there, because a lot of times, you know, people, they like cleaning stuff out. I don't need these light bulbs. I bought all these light bulbs. I don't need them. And they'll drop them off at Goodwill. Go to Goodwill and you have a higher probability of finding them there, or there are a few sites online that you can order them from. Either I would do that, I'm talking about at night, in the evening, or even candles. I know I sound completely crazy right now to some of y'all. He talking about candlelight. When we get into that topic, when we talk about what LED lights, what they do to you on a cellular level, and what it's doing to your brain. There was a video, hopefully I still have it somewhere. They showed, this was some kind of test that these scientists were doing. In this classroom, they had a bunch of small children. It was like kindergarten, first grade, right? And, you know, children that age, they just bouncing, they all over the place and all that stuff. And they had one kid in there who was, you know, he had a little mental issues going on, right? So he was especially all over in the classroom. He was all over the place. They couldn't sit him down for anything. And they said, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do a test. We're going to put some LED lights up in here. When they put the LED lights in there, the kids were just all over the place. Then they switched it. They said, okay, let's switch it over to the incandescent light bulbs. They switched it to the incandescent light bulbs. All those kids, they were just as calm. The kid that had the, you know, mental issues, he was so calm. He was sitting up at the front row, taking notes. Seriously. So there's something, even when we talk about these LED lights versus incandescent lights, LED lights, think of the best way I can describe it to you, LEDs, which means light emitting diode, right? And basically it's putting out the frequency that is coming out of LED lights. Think of a square. Okay, you've seen a what they call a sine wave, right? A sine wave goes like this. What's coming from the sun, it's like this, right? That's how the waveform looks, like this. What comes from an LED is square. So it's like 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, right? And so with LED lights, it's a lot easier for them to transmit information. That's why you have light bulbs out here that actually can put out Wi-Fi signals. Yeah, there are light bulbs you can order that can become part of your network, right? And they can broadcast certain things. This ain't conspiracy. Look it up. I mean, you can buy these things. I mean, they got a whole aisle. You know, you go to Walmart or Home Depot, they got light bulbs. They're like, you could control from your phone and make it all kind of colors and stuff like that. And so, but that same type of technology, when your brain is exposed to it, it can also have an impact on your mood and your emotions when you're dealing with waveforms that are like that. Waveforms that are more like this, that's more natural. That's what we're used to. That's what our bodies are accustomed of receiving, those kind of waveforms. But when it comes to that data-driven kind of stuff, it really messes you up. And that's why a lot of times people tend to be more on the depressed side when you're around these freaking lights all day, you know, these LED lights. So we'll get into that. We'll dive into that a lot more if you know, and lay it all out. We'll lay the science out. It ain't gonna just be us spitballing. We're gonna lay out all whatever studies are out there. We're gonna put it out there, and hopefully people will do something with it and we'll take it seriously. I know for me, I'm definitely, you know, I told Nicole, I said, okay, we're gonna need to order those incandescent lights, and because it's hard to find them. You know, you can't find them in the store these days, you know, but they're out there. You go on, I think if you go like on Amazon or something like that, it's hard to find, but they are out there. I would highly recommend you look into that for real. I'm being extremely serious with that, extremely serious, because there's a lot to it, and it has a lot of impact on here once you really get into it. But we'll talk about that on another day. Okay, so the next thing, I think this is our last topic, is we're talking about LED lights, but there's something else that you need to make sure you focus on, and that is fluoride. Fluoride, there was a study that was just done here, and they've been doing studies on this. People been saying this stuff. Again, this is another one of those things that the conspiracy theorists are right again with it. Fluoride, once again, scrutinized for possible effect on children's brains. A new review of previous research links fluoridated water with slightly lower IQs in children. Pediatric dentists are adamant that the mineral is critical for kids' health. Now, for those of you on here, I'm looking on this thing right now. I'm trying to see how many people on this live right now. It's 111. This part here, I do want you, there's going to be some advice that I'm going to give, and I hope that you do take it seriously. Okay? And so just stick around. Let me just get through this story first, and then I'm going to give you I'm tell you what we've been doing. I've shared this many times, but I want to share it again. A new report once again raises the question of whether there is a link between fluoride and drinking water and lower IQ levels in children. The research published in JAMA Pediatrics on Monday is a review of 74 other studies exploring how the mineral may affect children's IQ levels. The analysis found a statistically significant association between higher fluoride exposure and lower children's IQ scores. It showed that the more fluoride a child is exposed to, the more likely that child's IQ will be lower than if they were not exposed. Kyla Taylor, author of the study and health scientist at the National Institutes of Environmental Health Studies at the National Institutes of Health, wrote in an email, Taylor was not available for an interview. For every small increase of fluoride found in kids' urine, Taylor wrote, there is a decrease of 1.63 IQ points in children. The researchers did not suggest that fluoride should be removed from drinking water. According to the study authors, most of the 74 studies they reviewed were low-quality ones. All were done in countries other than the United States, such as China, where researchers analyzed fluoride levels in water and in the urine. Fluoride levels in China and other countries tend to be much higher than in the U.S., the researchers noted. Fluoride has been added to public water supplies in the U.S. for decades. No studies in the United States has flagged any measurable decreases in children's cognitive development since fluoride was introduced. And they go on, with the article here. Now, just to give you a point of reference here, the United States, 64 to 74% of the population consumes fluoridated water, followed by Australia, 80 to 90%. Republic of Ireland, 70 to 73%. Singapore, 100% of the population has access to fluoridated water. Chile, Brunei, hope I'm saying it, 95%. New Zealand, Malaysia, Hong Kong. Now, Singapore, Australia, the United States, New Zealand, Malaysia, Hong Kong. There's a lot more I could say on that. Again, one of those coincidences again. But one of the things, like I said, it lowers your IQ. Okay, this is something that's been studied, and they have concluded it calcifies your pineal gland. Fluoride does that. And anything that's calcifying that, you shouldn't have that in your body anyway. Okay, so this ties to a lot of stuff. When your IQ, when you are coming out and saying that IQs look like they're going down, gee, that kind of makes sense as to why the United States, China, and some of these other countries are so vested in dumping these toxins. Do a Google image search and look up anything like adding fluoride to water. You're going to see people in these hazmat suits adding it. What they are adding to your water that's coming out of your faucet, it's so toxic that they have to wear hazmat suits. That's in just about all of us that are watching this video right now. This is the stuff that they're adding to our water, fluoride. And what it does, it ultimately creates a population that's very compliant to whatever the system wants to do next. They want a compliant system of people where they can just do and push whatever, knowing full well that we're not going to have any kind of rebellion sticking out. And I mentioned to you, if you've been watching the show Silo, it's really interesting. This is a fictitious show, but they brought out in this show that the way they kept the people from rebelling so much was that they added something to the water. And so here we got this study coming out saying that, yeah, United States, along with these other countries, been adding fluoride to the water. Now, think about this for a second. Think how crazy this is. Many of us, black folks, some years ago, we were talking about what was going on in Flint, Michigan, and demanding that the United States government does more to make sure we get clean water. They got us out here demanding for government water that's ultimately contributing to making us more compliant. All of these movements that you see on social media, think about it. All of these movements that you see on social media, and I'm talking black folks particularly because that's, I'm black, I'm talking about that. But oftentimes we talk about how we're going to demand such and such. We're demanding reparations. Doggone it, they're going to do something. They're going to give us our money, and all this stuff. And we're going to take over hip hop. Hip hop, we own hip hop, and we're going to get rid of these people. You saying all of this stuff, and you ain't got no power. You don't have a military. You don't have any tanks. You ain't got a bank. You ain't got nothing. Just a bunch of toothless lions. Bunch of toothless lions lying out here, acting like you got all this power that you're going to do something. You're going to demand the United States to do something. And meanwhile, they just sitting back, just looking at you like, yeah, whatever. It's working. The fluoride is working. Let them vent out on Twitter. Let them vent out on Facebook or whatever and act like they're the authority. I'm the black authority on this. You're the authority on something, but you ain't got no power. None. Absolutely not. And now we got robots coming in, and guess what people are going to do? They're just going to roll on over and let it happen. So things like fluoride, things like these LED lights, things that they're adding to your food, these are all have been happening for years. And we've just kind of rolled along with it. Now, what is the solution? What are some solutions to this when it comes to fluoride? Trying to avoid that. Well, one solution that we've been pushing for years, and we've been telling people this, is looking for alternative places to get your water. One in particular is finding local springs, natural springs. There's, I've said it all the time, findaspring.com. Go to the website, findaspring.com. That is not our website. We don't get a dime for them, and nor do they ask for any money. It's just a free service someone posted. And it allows you to look for natural springs in your area that you can look for, where you can get natural water that's coming from natural springs in the earth. They try to make it seem as if the earth is running out of water. Man, go sit down somewhere. Most of the earth is made up of water. There's plenty of water all out here. But there are springs out here that you can go to and you can get water, drinking water for you and your family. It's out here, and many of them are, in fact, free of charge. So that's one example, one thing you can do. Another thing you can do is you have stores out here, that have reverse osmosis machines that you can go there, bring your tank or your gallons or, your containers or whatever. And these reverse osmosis machines, among the many microorganisms and things and bacterias and stuff that it removes, it also removes a huge amount of fluoride. So that's another option that you have. And, getting access to water that is close to or completely fluoride free. It's hard to get rid of it. It's fine. Unless you're getting spring water. But, when they say, because some of these people saying, well, fluoride is a natural occurring thing, is in nature. Yeah, well, let me get it from spring water. Don't let me get it from a faucet. If it's naturally occurring, it ain't going to require someone in a hazmat suit, okay, and a big old tank that got big old crossbones on it. That's not naturally occurring. You know what I'm saying? So just if you take me seriously on what I'm saying here, at least look into it. Okay, at least look into it, because that's very important, because again, these are ways that they're getting to people and making the general population very compliant when it comes to these things. This is why people are thinking the way they do. When you're on social media, you see the kind of foolishness that's out here, and why people just be arguing all the time about everything, but not going anywhere. That's what it's designed to do, to put everything on social media so it can be monitored. It can be, and AI can learn from it and figure out how we can disable, all people, all the stuff we put out. We're actually giving this system the blueprint on how to destabilize us, because we put everything on social media, everything. As black folks, a lot of black folks, they putting on how much they hate black women, and black women putting on how much they hate black men. Meanwhile, AI is sitting up here taking all the notes and saying, okay, now this is how it got a whole blueprint on. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start pumping up take that information, we're going to convert them to images that look real, and we're going to put those images out. I'm telling you what's going on in real time. We're going to start putting images out that's going to reflect this animosity black men and women have against each other. Not only that, we're going to start pushing out videos that's going to look like real black people talking, arguing with one another. We're going to start pushing that out. And while we're doing that, we're going to start pushing out articles, news articles that talk about why black men and black women can never get along. We're going to start pushing that out while you sleep. Because we put out everything, all our business on social media, all of our business. So again, just something to think about. I did have another story, but I'm going to cut it short, but I will encourage you to take a look at this video here. I'm not going to play it, but I'll just, like I said, for the sake of time, I'm not going to play it. But this one here, Metro Atlanta students chronically absent from school. Why? If you watch the video, it's about 4 minutes long, a little over 4 minutes long. And they're talking about this situation that's a growing problem. This woman, a mother that they focused on, or what they're finding is that a lot of children, particularly black children, are not attending school like they should. Well, I'm saying should in air quotes. When I say the air quotes because I don't like government schools, but you understand what I'm saying. And the reason that they're finding this high amount of absenteeism is because of the fact that it's homelessness is tied to it. They focused on, in the story, it was a single black woman who had like 4 kids, 5 kids, something like that. And basically, the kids were doing well in school, but then what happened was they started falling behind because, they literally were living in a hotel. And so the kids, they couldn't go to school. She said out of a full school year, her children only attended school for 3 months. And her only source of income was it Uber? It was like Lyft or Uber or something like that. So just imagine you're in that situation where you got 3 or 4 children, you're living in a hotel, your only source of income is Lyft or Uber. But at the same time, you're trying to get them to do their homework. I mean, it's nearly impossible. So the solution that they came up with was basically more government intervention by now getting with these parents and saying, hey, listen, we're going to help you to find a home. We're going to, once we get you into a little apartment, we get you in a home, that will help you now create a stable environment, for you and your children. And hopefully your children will do better in school. So you see the setup to where this is tied to what Elon Musk and all them, what they're pushing for. They're trying to create a society where the system controls everything. You understand what I'm saying? That's where this is going. And so the government, they're not going to listen, Elon Musk and Trump and all them, they're not going to get rid of everything in the government. They want that control, but the extra stuff, they're going to cut that out. That's going to be gone. All this working from home nonsense, trust me, that's going to be gone. They're going to replace them all with robots. They're going to say, okay, well, we'll do you a favor. We'll make the robots black. Okay, how about that? They're going to celebrate. They're going to say, all right, we'll compromise. We'll give you some black robots. How about that? Okay. But they still going to work. They're still going to work though. They still going to work. And you know what? We could even program them to work on MLK Day. Something you ain't going to do. I'm telling you. This is where we're heading, y'all. And so it's very important for us to make sure. Someone says it's not funny. It ain't funny, but it is funny too for those who are thinking that the government just going to take care of everything, or, hey, listen, and then you got the religious people saying, well, don't worry now. The Most High, he going to come and he going to solve all this stuff. So don't you worry about all of that. I was thinking earlier today, you got some people out here that was preaching about, they were talking about God. He got some cruise ships. I ain't making this stuff up, y'all. he got some cruise ships out here, and you have black folks that were literally moving to these different cities that were port cities. I'm trying to tell you how crazy folks are, because they were saying that God told them to move to these cities because he gonna send some cruise ships to pick up black folks. Well, let me just tell you this: if Carnival Cruise Line is any indication of what those cruise ships are going to be like, then count me out of it, okay? Count me out of it, because I don't want nothing to do with that. But this is the kind of stuff I'm saying. Listen, you believe in what you want to believe. I don't care. But what I'm here to tell you is this is the trajectory that things are going right now, and you better start taking things a lot seriously and really start focusing on these things, because 2025 is going to be a year where you're going to see a lot of people just, they're not going to make it. They're not. The foolishness is going to have to fall off. You can't continue on in these years and we still dealing with this kind of foolishness. We're still making videos about foolishness where everybody arguing and all this stuff. Ain't no time for that. I don't have time to be sitting there hours and hours listening to people arguing. I need to get with people that's about the business, about building and putting things together. Not so much coming together, because I'm not going to come together with everybody. And I've said that before. I love my people, but I say my people. And my people ain't all looking like me. I'm just trying to tell you. You understand what I'm saying? I keep a very tight circle. And in that circle are people who have proven themselves that are trustworthy, that are honest, and we both have our best interests at heart. Those are the people that's in my circle. Outside of that, I don't have this whole blanket like we all gonna come together, because I can't work with fools, idiots, backstabbers. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. The filters are all the way on in 2025 for real. And that's, you want to talk about a great falling away? The great falling away starts here. Do you understand what I'm saying? Meaning, you can't include everybody in your circle. You understand what I'm saying? You can't do it. You gotta have them people gotta fall away. Even people in your family, you gotta cut them loose. Some of these people in your family, you gotta cut them loose, because their thinking will have you somewhere in the ditch somewhere, for real. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that is all I have for you for this broadcast this evening. And yeah, that's it. I hope you guys got something out of this. Again, this broadcast was brought to you. Oh, that ain't a way to end. I don't know what that is. There we go. There we go. All right. There we go. This broadcast was brought to you by Samba Tree. SambaTree.com, where we are addressing at least some of these issues by looking at your health and your wellness. Go to the website SambaTree.com and start and get on in the business, okay? Thank you so much, you guys. We take care. We'll be talking again soon. I'll see you around.